The Art Director's Debrief, The Three Musketeers, Anatomy of an Assassination. Hello, and welcome back to the Emotive archive. We left the devout Puritan John Felton utterly corrupted, his soul remade into a weapon by the master manipulator Milady de Winter. He has become her disciple, her avenging angel, ready to help her escape and carry out her terrible mission. In the chapters we will declassify today, 58 through 60, we will witness the bloody and tragic conclusion to this psychological war. This is the story of a daring escape, a state-sponsored assassination, and the final triumphant act of the Cardinal's deadliest agent. This is the anatomy of a political murder. The section begins with the escape itself, a masterclass in Gothic tension. Milady, with Felton's aid, descends a rope ladder from her high castle window into the stormy night. The scene is pure dramatic imagery. The isolated fortress, the raging sea below, the beautiful prisoner making a desperate bid for freedom. It is a moment of high adventure, but it is underpinned by a deep psychological horror. She is not escaping to freedom, but is being unleashed upon the world to commit a terrible crime. And the man helping her is not a heroic rescuer, but a brainwashed pawn, a man whose integrity has been so thoroughly dismantled that he now believes treason and murder are acts of holy justice. Their silent journey by boat to a waiting ship is not a romantic elopement. It is the flight of two co-conspirators, a demon and her newly converted disciple. The narrative then shifts its focus to the target, the Duke of Buckingham. Dumas masterfully builds the suspense by showing us the Duke at the height of his power, in Portsmouth, preparing his fleet to relieve the besieged Protestants of La Rochelle. He is arrogant, confident, and completely unaware of the precise and deadly threat that is now sailing towards him. He is a man blinded by his own power and his romantic obsession with the Queen of France. He believes his only enemy is the Cardinal, an ocean away. He has no idea that the Cardinal's true weapon is not an army, but a single, fanatical man who is already inside his own walls. The assassination scene itself is a moment of brutal, shocking efficiency. John Felton, using his status as an officer, gains access to the Duke. Dumas describes the moment with chilling clarity. As the Duke is distracted, Felton, a man described as pale as a corpse, steps forward and plunges a dagger into his chest. The act is swift, clinical, and devastating. The great Duke of Buckingham, one of the most powerful men in Europe, is brought down in an instant, not on a battlefield, but in a quiet room by a man he doesn't even recognize. Felton's behavior after the act is just as telling. He makes no attempt to escape. He stands calmly amidst the chaos, holding the bloody knife, fully prepared to accept his fate. In his mind, he is not a murderer. He is a martyr. He has not committed a crime, he has executed a divine judgment upon a sinner. He is the ultimate tragic figure, a good man who has been so completely manipulated that he believes a monstrous act to be a righteous one. The final chapter of this section shows us the aftermath. With her enemy dead, Milady is now free. She returns to France, her mission a complete and unqualified success. She has not only eliminated a major political and military threat to the Cardinal's plans, but she has done so by turning one of her enemy's own men into her weapon. It is a victory of terrifying psychological brilliance. Upon her return, she is met not with condemnation, but with a new mission from her master, the Cardinal. Her next target is now personal, to eliminate D'Artagnan and his beloved Constance Bonacieux. The political war is over, for now. The personal war of vengeance is about to begin. The devil, having tasted victory, is now completely unchained and ready to hunt.
Now that we have analyzed the events of this political assassination, let us elevate our analysis and explore its profound historical and psychological implications. The murder of the Duke of Buckingham is not a fictional invention by Dumas. It is a real historical event. The historical George Villiers, 1st Duke of Buckingham, was indeed assassinated in Portsmouth in 1628 by a disgruntled army officer named John Felton. By weaving this shocking historical fact into his narrative, Dumas masterfully blurs the line between fiction and history, suggesting that behind the accepted public version of events, a secret, hidden war of espionage may have been the true cause. Let us deconstruct the tragedy of John Felton through a modern psychological lens. He is a textbook example of radicalization. Milady does not simply persuade him, she systematically dismantles his existing reality and replaces it with a new one. This process involves several key steps. First, isolation. She is his sole intense focus in the isolated environment. Second, ideological affirmation. She co-opts his Puritan beliefs, framing her personal conflict as a holy war against a sinner. Third, creating a common enemy. She transforms the Duke from his legitimate commander into a demonic figure, a shared enemy they must destroy. And finally, dehumanization. By framing the assassination not as murder, but as a divine execution, she removes the moral weight from the act. Felton is no longer killing a man, he is removing an obstacle to God's will. This process is terrifyingly modern. It is the same basic psychological blueprint used by cult leaders and extremist groups throughout history to turn ordinary people into fanatics willing to commit horrific acts in the name of a higher cause. Felton is a 17th century tragic hero who would be right at home in a modern-day thriller about radicalization. Milady de Winter in this sequence cements her status as the ultimate agent of chaos. Her genius lies in her ability to identify and exploit the psychological fault lines in others. She sees in Felton's rigid piety not a strength, but a vulnerability. She understands that a man of absolute, unshakable belief is, paradoxically, the easiest to manipulate. All one needs to do is convince him that his actions serve that belief. She is a master of turning virtues into vices. She turns Felton's faith into fanaticism, his sense of justice into a tool for murder, and his compassion into a weakness to be exploited. She does not defeat him with a sword, she defeats him by corrupting his soul from the inside out. Her victory is a chilling testament to the power of psychological warfare, an argument that the most effective spies are not just soldiers, but masters of the human mind. The assassination of Buckingham is the geopolitical climax of the novel. With his death, England's primary advocate for war against France is removed. The threat of an English fleet relieving La Rochelle is neutralized. Cardinal Richelieu's political and military objectives are achieved. This is the great game of nations, played with human pawns. The love between the Queen and Buckingham, which seemed so important, is ultimately just a catalyst for these larger political machinations. Dumas, a keen political observer, shows us that in the world of high-stakes power, personal feelings are often just levers to be pulled to achieve a strategic goal. In conclusion, these chapters are a dark and brilliant exploration of manipulation, fanaticism, and the devastating consequences of a single well-told lie. Dumas takes a real historical event and provides it with a thrilling, fictional secret history, suggesting that the greatest events are often shaped by the smallest, most personal of psychological battles. The tragedy of John Felton is a timeless warning about the dangers of absolute certainty and the ease with which virtue can be corrupted. And the triumph of Milady de Winter establishes her as one of literature's most formidable villains, a beautiful demon who is now free to turn her full, vengeful attention towards our unsuspecting heroes. Thank you for joining me in the Emotive Archive.